What's up, everybody? Welcome to a special live we have today. Guys, I'm here with my great friend Logan Fullmer, and today we are going to be talking about Curative Title and getting excited for Logan Fullmer's Curative Title Conference in Orlando. If you haven't heard about it, you have to check it out. We'll make sure we post some comments and links to all this stuff in the Facebook groups and chats. But this is going to be a massive conference of real players and operators. And anytime Logan does an event, it is a huge turnout. And I have to say, before we get him on here, when I went to Arizona and I went to his event, and that was the first time I'd been to Logan's event, I was blown away, tons of value. And I think one of the biggest things that comes out of this is the connections and everything that comes a part of this. So this is going to be awesome. Logan, always love seeing you, brother, and couldn't be more excited for the Curative Title Conference in Florida.
It's coming to you, baby, in Florida.
Let's go.
I'll tell you, Al, like, it's hard to say that this is weird to say because you usually say this with older attorneys, but I would say I enjoy those compliments from you because I hold you in high esteem. You're an esteemed attorney, and a lot of folks take a long time to get to that point. You've burned through a lot of files. And instead of being one of those broad guys who does all this different stuff, kind of narrowed it down, which means you get really darn good at something. So I like that. There's not a lot of folks in this business, and people are always asking me, who do I go for a lawyer? My first place is, well, where are you at? But our paths will converge here in your state. I love that state. It's got a lot of similarities to the state that I started in. Today we're in about 7 states, but I love homestead protections in Florida. I love the way the law operates. I love y'all's commerce and economics there. Dude, it's a great place today. So this is going to be fun.
Oh, it's going to be a blast. And I know how entrenched you guys have been in Texas and some other states and in the ones that avoid going through probate. But now we get to talk about Florida and the great probate state it is, and how so many people are getting into deals, doing these deals at high levels and coming out and having success in this. You know, Logan, I want to open this up and talk about this, and we're going to get to the event, but I really want to talk about this. Curative title is the hottest word buzzing around. I want to say in the last 6 to 8 months, vocally, out loud, publicly, like everybody's talking about curative title. And for someone brand new to hearing the word curative title, let's talk a little bit about it. And, you know, what are you seeing out there on the ground when it comes to this?
You know, 12 years ago, there in my RV in the oil field doing these wacky little deals that everyone said I shouldn't do. Every lawyer, every investor, every title company said, go to the next one. And it was one of the times where me being hard-headed in life paid off. Most times it didn't. This time it did. We started talking about it on the internet a little bit, and people realized, wow, I believe what you're saying, because we had a business that improved no matter a market's up, down, or whatever was happening over the last 10 years. They could see our growth. And we're transparent. We show deal reviews, deeds, HUDs. I put up my financials on the board at conferences a lot of times, and people finally started to realize, holy cow, this is something that can stand the test of time. And when you look at distressed investors, they usually are a more discerning investor when it comes to distressed paper. I mean, there's all these distress levels in other places of business. But in this small to mid-cap real estate space, nobody has really shared it with people on a broad like a big scale like this until we did it. And you're right. I've heard this word more on the internet now than I ever expected I would. But you know what? That validates what we're saying and doing. It does work. People can figure it out. Yes, it can be complicated, but if you have the right people around, you get there. So I'm excited to see it because I hear people tell me all the time, I made in one deal what I made at 2 years in my job. This is what I'm doing now. And I'm like, great, you've come to our side.
Yeah. And we are seeing so many more investors that have been doing this 10, 15 years that are now coming out saying, hey, I really want to pivot into this world and get more into it. And it's impressive. I mean, a lot of people I see a lot of investors, and even over the years, that have found these deals, but at the time that they found them, it wasn't really in their model to get into this game and do it. And now there's this opening into it. And when it comes to these deals, I know you and I were talking about this earlier. Tell us some of the, like, a case study you've seen when it comes to getting these deals, and maybe it's like buying the interest or getting heirs and stuff to disclaim their interest. Like, I know there was one deal specifically you had as a great case study to, like, what you are seeing on the ground. He'll be right back. There he
Acknowledge.
is.
Okay, can you hear me now? Sorry.
Yeah, I can hear
we're
you now.
plugging in a hard
You're
wire.
good.
For
You're
some reason,
good.
my Wi-Fi. Okay. Back up.
It's all good,
Back
Logan.
up, 'cause I
We've
missed
done this
piece
so
of
many times.
Yeah.
Well, so when it comes to these deals, I know there was a specific case study that you and I were kind of talking about before, where you're getting into these curative deals, right? Like, you're getting into things that you're finding there's a probate, you're buying out interest, or you're getting this because really, at the end of the day, what this is you have families that can't solve these problems, right? They haven't talked to each other, they're fighting, they're missing, they're in other countries. What are some of the things that you're seeing out there that really involve this curative title niche? I think he's still there somewhere. Is he still
Back
there?
and look at it from a oh crap.
You're good. You're good. I think it's going.
Oh, okay. The hardwire looks like it just showed the connection now. God. All right. Sorry. When I step back and look at at everything that we've seen over the last 10 years, there's a lot of complex matters. But what I'm finding is folks are getting good at spotting a deal. It's got problems. It's got owners that aren't getting along. And they're starting to learn how to make offers. People are really scared about how to make an offer that's very low because they didn't feel good about it. And we've helped educate people that when you're buying a Cadillac that's new and perfect and in 10 out of 10 condition, you're going to pay top dollar. That's just how it is. There's no discount. But if that Cadillac has a busted windshield and a paint peeling off the hood and it's got flat tires, you're going to get a discount. You have to. That's just how markets work. And people are now starting to feel comfortable with saying, oh, I understand that distressed property doesn't have marketable title. It's the same as that beat up Cadillac. I got to get a deal. And the more work you do, the more money you're going to make. So when we look at that, the front end, people are starting to get that figured out. On the back end, people are now needing these fixes. In Florida, many times you're going to need to go through the probate court because there's a lot of death. And there are other fixes that people have to understand. There are homestead protections that can help them with a lot. There's creditor debts involved. There's breaks in the title chain. There's all these technical parts that we're now starting to say, okay, this is the education that people have to get so that when they spot a problem, they don't get scared and run off. But like you mentioned, family fighting, families not getting along, or families being disconnected is a big one. And before people jump out and say, you should give them top dollar for their property. Well, remember, some people don't care. That's their right. It's like a pawn shop. They're walking in saying, I'm done with this lawnmower and I just take something for it a little bit. I don't really care. I'm done. That can happen with a lawnmower just like it can a house, a ranch, or the commercial office that I own and I'm working out of. And just because one person says they should get top dollar doesn't mean the person who owns that property has to do others believe. It's up to them. And that's our job, to piece all those things together and say, can I make a good living doing it?
Yeah. And there's a lot of people too, Logan, that think that you got to have a lot of capital or money to really even get started with this, right? Like, you find these deals and they think, oh, I got to have this amount. Like, what kind of budget does somebody need to even get into something like this?
I started with almost nothing doing this. And at the time I was paying $2,000, $5,000 for a property. And yes, you got to get your hands on $2,000, $3,000, $4,000. At the end of the day, if you can't get your hands on a couple $1,000, well, I'm sorry. Like, you can't come to this table. But real estate investing usually requires hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars or lots of debt. If you can go buy a person's interest for $5,000 and they either assign their rights and claims to a property or an estate or give you the deed, and you take control of it, but leaving debts out there subject to all these debts, encumbrances, and problems, and go fix them or get agreements to fix them, and then you don't satisfy those debts until you sell it. Dude, I picked up a deal that had $500,000 in bad debt against it, and it was worth over $1 million. We sold it and only paid the seller $25,000, but $23,000 was an IOU. $22,000, $3,000 went into their pocket to buy the deed. We solved all that stuff, sold it, paid all the debts through closing, so nothing out of our pocket except $3,000. And we cashed a $409,000 check out of that in 18 days. That's an outlier, but that's a perfect example of helping people understand. You can go get yourself a $300,000 house with a $100,000 remaining mortgage, buy it subject to, and go deal with those last couple owners through probate or not. And maybe one of them's got a child support lien you got to settle or partially release or deal with, or maybe it's expired and it just needs to come off the title committee, and the title committee didn't even do that. The ticket to that dance may only cost you $500, $5,000. It can be very minimal to get in your first couple deals.
And let alone the fact that you have an amazing community around you that if you don't know what you're doing, then you ask and you JV and you partner and you get with the people that can help you, right? Because a lot of people think that they find one deal and they got to do it themselves. And I'm seeing it more where there's investors that are really they're getting deals, but then they're like, wait, where do we go? What do we do? And so that's what's amazing too about your conference and going to something like the Curative Title Conference is you get to meet so many people that are doing these on at a high volume, and you get to meet Logan and Kyle and Jordan and Ryan. It's like there's so many people that you can really lean on in Logan's sphere on this kind of stuff. So Logan, what did you learn the most from that deal?
Hold on.
Yeah.
Something that I must say, and I feel obligated to say this for your sake. One of the things people complain to me the most is, how are you going to pay all those legal fees? And I say, look, this isn't $100,000 usually in legal fees. Yes, I've spent that, but usually $5,000 to $15,000 in a file. And then the next question is, well, how do you pay all that? I've heard you guys are doing contingent work where you say, I'll get paid when the deal closes. Mm-hmm. So if they hire you and the fact pattern works, they're not paying out of pocket. They get paid at the end, which means they're paying a delinquent mortgage, outstanding property taxes, code compliance liens, and lawyer fees now on the other end. Dude, show up with a few G's and get a deal inked. Like, you can even solve that matter for them.
Yeah. And what's great about it is we'll wait until the closing for payment, right? So like somebody picks up a probate deal, we find out it needs 4 probates. We're waiting until the end. And then better yet, now we're doing the partitions, the quiet title lawsuits, the weird stuff. And it's like, these are massive avenues to helping people and getting the whole community together to figuring out and solving these. You know, it's massive. And with Florida, Logan, you know, I've heard when I went to Arizona, I remember a lot of people were talking about, Florida. I don't know about Florida. Florida's like one of the best states for probate. Right? The only hurdle you have is getting with the lawyer and getting the legal process done. And that's the best part, because it really takes the expertise to get that stuff done. And I know in other episodes that we've done on the Alan Nicoletti Show, we've talked about how one of the best assets you can have is the legal end and knowing the title end and the underwriting part of things. So, you know, that's a lot of this too. What are some of the creative solutions that you're always thinking through when you come across this deal? Is it through the underwriting side? Is it more the pain points and talking with the sellers? Like, what are some of those solutions and maybe conversations?
First thing I'll say, let me back up to one of the first comments you made. People used to talk so much about being afraid of probate states because they heard us talk about states that didn't require it. After we spent some time working in the probate states, I realized it's the difference between a good athlete going to play basketball this season and when they're over, they're now playing football, and they might go on ahead and dip into track. If you're going to be a good real estate investor, you need to learn the rules of different fields, and they're not that dissimilar. My son plays 4 different sports. It's the same darn thing. They're all athletics. So when we've gone to all these other states now, I'm not that concerned. And especially in Florida, y'all have a lot of things similar to Texas, except you have to do probate, but they're not crazy many times. So I'd tell people, don't be scared off of that. The other thing is, I'll tell you, this is when you're saying, what are the things that I'm looking for? People need to remember this is a people business that trades in real estate. They always say, I'm getting in real estate. What I've learned is whether I'm running an office, whether I'm building a media operation, whether I'm doing marketing, and my core real estate businesses, those are people businesses. I'm really solving less real estate problems and more people bullshit. That's the problem. So if you apply that filter to all of it, you're going to seek to understand the people you're talking to first. You're going to empathize with them. And yes, I'm very transparent. The third thing is I'm here to make a living. And if I can't make a good living, I ain't doing it. I'm going to go do something else. And yes, seller, this property probably is worth a lot of money when the problems are fixed. If you go solve them, you get to make all that money. And I'll tell you exactly what I plan to do. And if you want to do it, great. I'm going to waste 20 minutes telling you and you can go do it. But if you've gotten here, I'm probably your solution. Let's see if that fits. That's kind of how I frame a lot of this. But right off the bat, I want to step back big picture when you're looking at your first deal and just ask yourself, is the juice worth the squeeze? If it's a $60,000 lot, I don't want to do that. I don't have room for fees and mistakes and seller proceeds. I like to see something worth 100 to 200,000 at minimum. And then just real simply, there's some debt owed, but is it minimal? 20% of the value of the real estate, the guesstimate value of the real estate, is it owed in debts? Code compliance, lien, taxes, maybe 30%. If you have 60 to 70% in equity, I got money to give the sellers some decent money. I can make some decent money and I can recover for my mistakes. I might find a surprise judgment or a lien that I can't get rid of and I just got to pay it. I got to be prepared for those. Your first blush should be, is the juice worth the squeeze? That's what I've got to look for, number one. And it ain't going to be perfect, but you got to be 70, 80% right.
Yeah. And I think one of the biggest starting points that we tell people all the time is, sure, you gotta make sure you get all your inspections and look at the property itself, but also what is the title showing as well? A lot of people skip that step. They get so excited about the fact that they got some of these people on contract or ready to go, and then all of a sudden they didn't realize there's all these other underlying currents. And I always think about this when you're getting through solutions. You have to think about, what is it going to take to get the deal closed? What is going to be your hurdle to getting the closing doc signed? Is there anything on the title that's going to come up? And if there is, what are the solutions around it? And I know that you guys are big on that and making sure that you're doing your due diligence. Like, let's even talk about that. Like, the importance of due diligence in these curative deals. Like, you can't just say, I'm just jumping in. Like, you got to do the research.
You do. And that's one skill I would tell people right off the bat. Familiarize yourself with your deed records, your public records. If you spend a weekend and about 6 cups of coffee over those 2 days and get good rest, but literally put in 8 hours a day, you will become familiar enough with your public records. So that'd be your deed records, your tax assessor collector, your docket searches, those 3 places really. And the appraisal district. So those 4. Figure out how, and then know how to use Redfin and Zillow, because I like those. They're simple. If you can figure out those over a weekend, you got 70% of the information you need already. Another thing I tell people is, before you become very familiar with the deed records, if you find yourself close to a deal or trying to figure something out, you can order a Pro Title USA report for a couple $100. Those are darn good reports. They come back in a couple days. First American Title has a platform you can log into, like a title abstract simply, or you can do deed research by the legal description, the deed records yourself. It can be done quickly, simply, good understanding what you're doing from the jump before you start spending days on something. Because if you've got $900,000 mortgage on a $600,000 house and it hadn't been paid in 2 years, you better know that quick, because that might be a signal that you need to go after that mortgage and attack it. And if you can't, you better walk away. That's your quick first blush on research.
Yeah, and research is everything. Even talk about this, Logan. I know one of the speakers coming to the event are the bakers and talking about doing investigating and finding people and locating
Yeah.
people. Like that's one of the hardest things in this curative space or even real estate in general. It's like you find a deal, you get a couple people, but then there's a couple other people you can't find. They're in Turkey, they're in the Philippines, they're somewhere, in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. I mean, the due diligence in trying to locate people, right? Like that's one of the that's one of the biggest parts of this.
The people. Back to the people, right? Yeah, digging people up. That we found people in Peru on Facebook through their wife's nail salon. We found people through private investigators in Switzerland. I found a guy who lives in Jersey and was on vacation in Canada. And we found him in Canada in vacation 2 days before a tax sale was scheduled. The people,
Wow.
strangely enough, can be found on the internet. And if you can't find them, you can find a private investigator on the internet in an area that you think they might be in, who's more familiar with the land there, that can find them fast for $500.
Yeah. It's all about using the tools that you have to being able to search. And again, another amazing part about being at the conference, there's always so much synergies and collaborations and people always talking about what's working for them. And I think that's a huge part of this. Cause I've had a lot of people, Logan, that come up to me and they'll say, hey, like, how is the event? It's like worth going to the event. It's absolutely worth going to Logan's event. Like, you're going to see amazing speakers and have a lot of people there. And you're going to see Logan, you're going to meet the whole team, but also it's what people are also doing on the ground too, that are there in that sphere. So that's going to be huge. Logan, let's talk about the event. And like I said earlier, Arizona was spectacular, awesome, had a blast there. I don't even do these deals as an investor, and I did the VIP, which was a blast. Going to have a great time with everybody, going to the workshops. It was a great time. What do you want attendees to really walk away from this event? Because like I know you guys have had content from stuff previously, but I know and I've heard like this is going to be different.
Yep, absolutely. So when you look across the last thousands of deals I've done, I would say there's probably a top 20 title defects that I commonly see. That's going to catch 80% of the problems that are out there. And of those top 20, 80% of those are in your top 5 or 6. So instead of spending time on lead acquisition and how to have seller calls and stuff like that, we're going to do about a quarter of the day on that. The remaining 2/3 of the day are going to be complete case studies on the curative title defects that we have used to solve these deals. And I will bet my entire office on the fact that they will solve 80% of your problems. Folks get real wrapped up in like getting on the phone, having the conversation. You got to do that to get a deal. But once they do that, it's like that dog that caught that bus after he's been chasing around. They don't know what to do next. If they will listen to us for the same price as 1 hour of lawyer time for one day, 8 hours, they will know the top 80% of title defects, how to spot them and how to solve them. Our case studies include a deal we've done. I'm going to put the address up there. You can search it in the land records. If you think I'm full of shit, it's all in there. We'll show you the instruments that we use to solve it, whether it's statutory or common law, whether it's just an affidavit or a settlement, how it was solved, and then what the result was like. What did we spend? What did we get out of it? How long did it take? That way people can look at it and say, I know he talks about a break in the title chain, but what is that? We'll show them exactly what it is, and we'll show them exactly how it worked in that deal. So when they're on the phone the next week and they hear that red flag from a seller, they can say, I know what this is. That's what our event is planned out for.
Yeah. I mean, I just remember even watching Jordan's presentation and how he really broke down a lot of the terminology and things that a lot of people miss and they see on deeds or they've heard concepts of. But I remember he kind of went in depth with that about how it's actually benefited and they've worked through those issues. And I mean, you've probably talked about this before, but getting into landlocked deals and lien issues and reducing liens and like how you guys have dealt with all that stuff. It's always fascinating to always learn new things. And, a lot of people will hear the word conference, Logan, and after COVID, remember how many there were? There was this one, and everybody was like, another real estate conference. What makes this so different? What makes yours so different from just another seminar?
This is really a training. You're not going to get here and see 6 different speakers pitching 6 different things and all try to sell you something. This is not a pitch fest. This is training. The problem is so many damn people show up, we can't put it in a small room anymore. That's why it's in a conference hall. But my job is to train people. It's like continuing education in any field you're in. You show up, you pay a fee, and you exchange it for information that you can get nowhere else, and there will be no better quality in this niche what you're going to get. That's why we're different. At the end of the day, we sometimes, like some of these big promoters, we get thousands of people. We don't get that because I'm not putting the biggest name on HGTV in front of the screen to draw people. I'm putting the people in our office and I'm putting the financials on the board when we start to say, this is why they're credible. This is their business. This is how it works. Now let's talk about how we got there so that we can help you get there. That's our model.
Yeah. And even the fact that you're doing it 3 days and that Sunday workshop too is where a lot of people go in depth. And I remember the one in Arizona, you had everybody in a circle kind of going around talking about, their level, where they're at, the challenges, the problems. And that's also really unique too, to have at a conference, is people to get vulnerable about where they are and like how, if they're stuck on something or where do they go for that, and people sharing ideas and in conversations is something that's also really unique. And of course the dinners and being a part of that. Yeah. The people, like it's always the conference is great. It's even the people that are attracted to this niche and the operators that come, and it's going to really bring everybody there, and look, is the stuff that we're going over like things that people can learn on YouTube and social media, or are we going in more in depth for this?
If you knew what to look for, how to look for it, and how to read statutes and how to connect the dots without being in the real world, a lot of this is in the law books. The problem is, who's got 10 years to learn like I did? If I can give you the basics in a day, like that doesn't make any sense why you wouldn't do it. And it's the same price as the cost of a pair of boots or a night out on the town. Like, if you care and you're serious about this is where you need to be. So let me point out a couple little things that have come up in the last few days that I think people overlook. They hear us say the same things over and over, but they don't think about, I mentioned this earlier, but we didn't get into it, so I'll bring it up now. Homestead protection in states, a lot of states in the Sun Belt, prevent judgments and liens from attacking the property, from killing the equity, from foreclosing on creditors don't have the ability to foreclose on homesteads in a lot of these Sunbelt states like they do in some other states up north. We have equity protection. Why do investors care? If a person's trying to sell you their property, they have the ability to protect their equity. They get the proceeds instead of judgments or liens destroying their equity, which means you have protection from a lot of those. And people see the judgments or liens and say, how do I get rid of them? It might be as simple as a homestead affidavit. It could be a very simple thing that unlocks hundreds of thousands of dollars. Another thing that we found in the last couple of weeks that people were shocked about that you will not find on the internet is a transfer on death deed. You see those a lot. A person says, when I die, I want this to go to my kid, and I don't want to go through probate. I don't want to do all this fancy stuff. They fill out a transfer on death deed and record it. Well, a few years later, their kid gets in trouble. Their kid steals from them. Their kid's a bad kid. And the parent says, I want to sell this house and take this money while I'm alive, and I don't want it to transfer to my kid. Well, you have this document that clouds title. What do? People get freaked out. They call lawyers. They call title companies. The pragmatic, simple answer is, by definition, a transfer on death deed means the grantor reserves the interest and the right to the property until they die. If they haven't died yet, that trigger mechanism hasn't happened. So if that transfer on death deed is out there, that person who owns it can still sell it to me before death. And because they've divested their interest, when they die, that transfer on death deed no longer takes effect. So they don't have to go do a quiet title suit. They don't have to call lawyers. They can transact like normal, and that title cloud doesn't do anything anymore. People don't even get that. And I just dropped it to them in 50 seconds. Here's another example. This one is a lot less known even than that. When you have a title defect that you might, as an investor, a buyer, I might say, I'm not worried about that. That's an unreleased mortgage from 20 years ago, and the title company refuses to let it go. And there's only $30,000 left on it. I still want to buy this property. I still want title insurance, and I'm going to go sell it. And I still want to give title insurance. Title companies will allow you to indemnify and defend them at times. They just don't want to have a claim against them. Now, if they believe you're a solvent business and you can prove it to them, or you can buy a bond from an insurance company, there are times where they will apply that to the file and allow it to be insured, even though they see a defect that they want to accept from. They will still insure it if you protect them and they believe you, and you can get an insurance policy on it from maybe a bond or something. We have left defects, big old liens and judgments that we knew couldn't be collected on, left them there. And title companies will insure around it at times. But investors don't know that. So they.
And I think he'll be back in just a second. He'll be coming in. Hold on, he's backstage right now. Let's see. He was on a roll. You were on a tear there for a second. He's on. Well, Logan,
Sorry.
no, you're good. I'll jump in on that for you. So you were really on a roll about all the different kinds of concepts and things that people hear about but don't know how it works in application, right? And in Florida is an amazing state with probate, and in Florida we have homestead, and many of the properties we deal with are homestead protected properties. And so when someone dies and they have some creditors or debts and stuff like that, most of those creditors are out. You still have to work through the legal logistics of trying to serve them if you know about them, or if needed a newspaper. But what's so unique about even our state here is so many of the maneuvers you can do and get with when it comes to getting a deal. And I know we will probably touch on that at the summit, getting into homestead and non-homestead and how both of those work and how you need to pay attention to those. But even like you're saying, just understanding the terms and some of the things you can do and some of the things that title companies have the creativity of doing. There's a lot of people that don't know that kind of stuff, right? And just having that little bit of knowledge can help you solve a deal that you almost wouldn't have today. So as you were, go for it.
No, you're right. Understanding something means when you get your title commitment back from the title company, the escrow officer says, you've got to get this judgment or lien released, or it just shows up on the commitment, but you know that there's statute of limitations on a lot of liens. You don't know what it is, but you know it's there. So you go Google. If you have that seed of information, you will learn that certain judgments or liens, a lot of them have like a 10-year statute of limitations. And that lien might've been recorded 14 years ago, but the abstract still showed it. So they put it on the commitment. That's a 5-minute call to the title officer, escrow officer, saying that's a 13-year-old judgment and its statute of limitations says it's only good for 10 years. Will you remove it from my title commitment? I don't want to pay it. I don't want to call it credit. Can you just take it off? That little seed of knowledge right there just pulls tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars of liens off of properties and recovers equity. And as an investor, I've got to decide, do I know that information? Can I use it? When I'm going to buy the property, I may choose to buy it without title insurance because the person isn't willing to deal with the judgments or liens, but I have the key. So I can give them $1,000, $5,000, $10,000 to walk away and give me a deed. And I'll go to the title company, ask them to remove that lien because I know it should be gone. There's so many deals people can't fix, and we buy it for a $5,000 assignment fee. And all we do is call the title company and say, just take that off. It's that damn simple.
And there's a lot of different things out there that you can learn from. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. And this is why being able to surround yourself with Logan and his whole team and being at the conference is going to be awesome. And Logan, I just got to say, I'm ecstatic and excited to be speaking at your conference on Florida probate, on really getting into how more investors can unlock deals and get into probate deals, the mechanisms behind them, and solving more of these and providing real case studies to investors on how you can get into these deals. It's going to be, it's awesome. And so many students, I work with so many of your students out there that are just crushing it and just doing so many different deals out there. So it's a real testament to like what you all are doing out there on the ground and in the program and everything.
I tell people this a lot. We value our time and our money. We also value and respect yours. And if we're going to ask you to spend a day and money to come help us cover the costs on this event we're throwing, I treat that seriously. And I will not let people walk away not getting equivalent or greater value than what they left with us. So we take it seriously. It matters a lot. And we care about our reputation. So we can't be a pitch fest real estate operation that just goes and it's all hype. It's not. And I tell people this too. If they come and they don't think it was worth it, come find me. Tell me that to my face, and I'll take $500. I carry at least $500 in my wallet at all times. I'll hand you your $500 back if you think that's true. I've now started saying this for the last couple of years, and it's happened 0 times. That is confidence.
I love it. I love it. I don't think I've actually heard you say that before, and then it's here, and I'm like, all right, game on.
Yeah. You know what else? We do not allow, just like I said, we don't allow tons of big names to show up at our event and be a hype fest. The only people that we allow to do this with us are people that we know, like, and trust and have confidence in. So the private investigative firm that's going to be with us and you are the only 2 outside speaker groups. So if anybody knows anything about us, that should say a lot about y'all.
I really appreciate that, Logan. It means a lot. It means a lot. And I'm excited to bring my entire team there as well, which is another big value add, because that's where the magic is. It's not even just me. Like, it's my entire team. And we get to be there with you, and love it. And for those that are really interested and you got to go, go through the dates again and give the details.
June 26th through 28th. If you can make it one day, we have general admission, which is Saturday. That's the meat and potatoes. If you can make a VIP, which is the second day, you get an entire day of mastermind. So we break down a bunch of groups with all the operators and go over everything: case studies, Q&A, how do we fix our problems, how do we get to the next step. And in that VIP, we have a Friday night dinner too. I keep saying the people, knowledge is half of it, the people the other half. While we've built in my opinion, a prolific business that does this, we have some ridiculous operators that are coming that they teach me stuff all the time, which is why I continue to drag them with us to these, because I'm proud to have them with us. Like, if they can help share stuff that I may not even know sometimes, it's a big thing. So that's kind of how our weekend is laid out.
Love it. I love that. And, in closing in all of this, Logan, what is something that you wish more people really understood about the curative title business?
I'm going to tell them something that applies to life, their family, their relationships, their business, curative title, all of that. This is something that really matters a lot to me. No one knows what they're doing. Some of us do it anyway. This business can seem challenging. It can seem like too big of a mountain to climb. Leaving what it is you're doing and coming into something new can feel like that. Finding the best girl that you want to marry can feel like that. Making the decision to have a family. I'm going to start with my first kid. None of us know what we're doing. Some of us do it anyway. You're going to figure it out in the trenches along the way. And if you pick the right people to do it with, you're going to be fine. We got 30 people in this office that do it. I got 5 other people in my house that decide to be a family with me. We are all doing just fine, but we reach out and take a step forward and walk a little bit by faith and a little less by sight. We got good people with us. This business is that. Come on, let's go.
I love it. Let's go. We're all in for this conference. This is going to be game-changing, life-changing. It's going to be awesome. And, final question for you, Logan, why do you believe curative title and distressed property investing is becoming even more important today?
Because it is the last thing that hasn't been, that can still work throughout all these markets. When the market's good, we make money. When the market's bad, we make money. The difference is we don't sell property for 95 cents on the dollar. We sell it for 70 or 80 cents on the dollar because the buyers are softer. That's okay. We can still move inventory because we got it so cheap. And a house flipper is trying to make a 20% margin, but things are selling at a 25% discount. Dudes, that's what you're on the street. And wholesalers, they're struggling. Land flippers and wholesalers are struggling because the market is soft and the demand is soft. They can't get a low enough basis to be able to keep business moving and make money. We've been able to do that because when you're buying property 10, 30, 50 cents on the dollar, no matter what's happening in the market, you just keep lowering your price until it sells. And as long as you bought it right, you will make money. That's why it stands the test of time. And that's why I think people need to have their eyes open.
And it's the fascinating thing going around right now. And we're seeing a lot more investors solving more deals getting into this. And again, I'm super excited to be speaking on probate at your conference. Logan, I always love having you on, going live with you, talking shop and getting down to it. And we're going to be seeing each other in a month, and it's going to be a blast. So again, for all those that want to go, you got to check it out. We'll drop the link in the comment section, so you'll see it right there. And Logan, it's a wrap, brother. And we'll be seeing each other really soon. See you soon,
pleasure,
brother.
my friend. Bye, Al.
Take care.